When you buy a home in a rural area, it's a lifestyle decision. If you aren't very familiar with the place where you want to buy, you'll need to research what it's really like to live there and decide if it's really for you. There are a lot of advantages to living in a rural place. Wide open spaces, easy access to nature, tight-knit communities. Also, there's plenty of inconveniences. Few utility options, less job openings or longer commutes, not as many choices for takeout. You really want to understand the rural area where you want to buy a home, especially if you haven't lived there or visited there. There's a lot you can do to a house to make it yours, but if you don't like the area, you're not going to be able to move the home. How do you make sure that Timbuktu, where you're about to buy, is a place you'll love and thrive? Let's find out. One of the first things you want to do is think about how well you know yourself. If you don't already live in a rural area where you want to buy the home, or if it's been a long time since you visited that area, it's a good idea to do some soul searching about why you want to live there. Why are you dreaming about moving closer to nature? Do you want the open spaces? Do you want to be able to fish and swim and boat? Do you want to be able to garden? Or maybe when you get to that area you find out it is a little too rural and you're a little too far from the major highway or the major airports. There's no shame in changing your mind about the place that as long as it will make you happy. If you're in a home for at least 2 years, you won't have to pay any capital gains. So that's why I recommend thinking about renting for a year if you're moving to a completely different area to get a chance to live all 4 seasons in a home in the area, so you can really get an idea if it's for you. And we do all have 4 seasons here in Cherokee Village, so it's a great place to experience that. Go ahead and write a wish list. Think of all the things that you don't like about the city and that you're hoping a rural area will give you. And how is it different from where you're living now and why that's important to you, so that when you make that list, you can decide what are wants and needs and might be absolute deal breakers. When you're looking for the best rural neighborhood to live in Arkansas, you want to check out the schools. Some of the schools in rural areas are at the top of the class, some not so much. So whether you have kids or not, you do want to research this, because even if they're not going into school now, even if you don't plan on having kids, you may, but really we're talking about the future value of your home. A school district can make all the difference on the value of your home. And keep in mind that when you're researching the schools, they may not give you all the details. They may only be going by test scores, so it's a good idea to even call the school and see what they have for plans about technology, what they do for bullying, do they have a gifted and talented program, sports that are in the school. Soccer is kind of a questionable one, and we don't have soccer in this area. We have baseball, football, basketball, volleyball, track. So it is important to check with the schools and make sure that it has the information and will fit the needs of your family, whether now, in the future, or for a future family for your home. Even if you're used to living in the rural area, don't assume you know everything there is to know when it comes to traffic and how it flows. Consider your trip to and from work and other area amenities like groceries and shopping and how long that's going to take you. It may be better, it may be worse, just depending on what kind of job that you're going to be going to in the area. It's a good idea to start with city or county offices or even the Chamber of Commerce. Then you can get an idea of what businesses are members of the Chamber of Commerce, and then you can even ask about what they plan to develop. Is there going to be a rec center? Is there going to be a new park? They may help you also with finding out the population and how many people have moved in recently. We have had a large influx into our areas, and so that could also change the future for housing development. Another important thing to check into is public transportation. If you're in the city, you're used to relying on that, but in rural areas, they're not going to have that. Maybe in some suburbs, they may have stuff that goes from the city center all the way to a mile outside of the city, but in our area, there really isn't any type of public transportation available. So you really have to rely on your car, and it's really not a walkable area either. One thing that you can do also, if you're looking for local information, is there's a group called Next Door, and there is a Next Door in our area that I know many members are of. I am personally not. There's also Facebook groups if you get on social media. For example, Cherokee Village Info Group is a really good one in our area that you can ask lots of information about who to use as a plumber or a contractor, or say I lost my dog, things like that, just to have a more tight-knit community, and then just ask for recommendations of people to use in the area. When you're looking for the best rural neighborhood to live in Arkansas, you also need to consider your worst case scenarios. Most of the time, crime isn't something you need to worry about too much in a rural area, but it never hurts to get a realistic picture. You want to check out crime rates and types in the places where you want to buy a home. Cherokee Village was named one of the top 10 safest cities in Arkansas more than once, so I feel pretty confident that we are a safe area, but I encourage you to always call the local police department so that they can give you a better picture since they have all the details. When you're looking online, again, take it with a grain of salt, because sometimes these crime ratings only talk about things that people were arrested for, but not necessarily actually had charges or had conviction for. And if you look at, say, a certain neighborhood within a county that has a higher crime rate, it doesn't really necessarily mean a lot if the whole county has a really low crime rate. So just take all that information into consideration when you're looking at the crime ratings online. Nobody wants to be rushed to the hospital, but when you are needing to go to the emergency room or urgent care, you want to know how far away it's going to be. Luckily, here in Cherokee Village, we have an emergency room right across the street from my office, right inside Cherokee Village. It not only is a satellite emergency room, but they have primary care physicians as well as eye doctors and imaging and lab work. So it is a really great feature. However, for an actual hospital that you'd have to have a surgery and have an overnight stay, you would have to go a considerable distance, 20 minutes, 40 minutes, 70 minutes, just depending on which area you want to use. So when you're looking at your area, you want to check around. What is the local response time? Which hospital would you go to if you went to the emergency room? Is there an urgent care center? What are its hours? Just so you're knowledgeable about the area you plan to go to. If you live in the suburbs or the city, it's pretty easy to get your home hooked up to the internet. But in rural areas, it can be hit or miss. Unfortunately, there are areas in Arkansas that you probably can get internet, but to actually have service is probably not going to happen. On the other hand, we have fiber optic internet in some of our areas. It's still on a 5-year plan, so it's not completely out to all of their customers, but those that are members of the North Arkansas Electric Cooperative do have access to fiber optic internet, so that's a really great thing that's come to our area. But I would highly recommend that if you're buying a home in the Cherokee Village, Hardy, Ashflat, Highland area, that you find out what type of internet service is available for that house. You'll also have limited access to sewer systems. Some of our communities have sewers and some don't. Usually you're going to have to get a septic system if you're going to have a home, especially if it's on acreage. Also, propane is going to be a common source of heat in our area if we do not have central natural gas for our homes. There is some in Cave City, which is about 30 minutes south of us, and also in Melbourne, they have natural gas there too. But in Cherokee Village, Highland, Hardy, they do not have natural gas, so you're going to have propane, or we have a lot of heat pumps here, so a lot of sources for heat are electric. Check with local residents and realtors in the area who will have a good idea about what utilities are available, because it definitely depends on which house has a co-op or energy, and some of them have city water, some of them has wells if they're out on acreage. And it can be more difficult to get to some places other than others that are right on a highway. Then obviously they're going to be easier to hook up to the utilities that are available. You also want to financially plan for that propane or that septic tank, because the propane isn't a bill that you pay for monthly. It's going to be a long-term bill. Usually my propane tank I fill maybe 2-3 times a year, so you have to be prepared for that large bill that you're not paying for monthly. And also a septic tank, you're not paying a monthly sewer bill, so you're going to have to plan for if there's any issues with that septic tank, because that completely falls on you and can be quite expensive if you have to replace a whole tank. If you're looking for the best rural neighborhood to live in Arkansas, I recommend that you spend the night first. If you can and you're not already running long-term in the area, try spending a night, a week, even a month to get used to the area where you want to buy. You'll find out where the grocery stores are, where the hardware store is, maybe how you'll get to work if you have a job lined up, where you want to walk your dog, and parks and trails that you can go to. Even check out all of the sights and smells and see if those are okay with you. They may not be it may be something completely different than you're used to. Take some drives around the area just to see what amenities are available. Things that you may not even heard about may be something that you really enjoy and would want to have access to regularly, like the Arts Center on North Arkansas. There's plenty of trails and parks to explore if you like to go hiking. And you may find out that being so far away from the highway or major airport or the mall is just too far for you. Or you may find out that the local farm grows something that makes you sneeze nonstop. Check out if the area or the county has any festival or events going on, and that'll give you an idea of what maybe happens regularly in the area for you to attend and to enjoy. But before you make an offer, I really recommend that you come and visit an area. Before you put your earnest money down, before you make an offer, before you close, so that you're not tied into something that you really can't enjoy. It will give you a chance to see if the podunk town that you have your eye on turns into a weekend getaway every weekend for you, or it's just going to be a vacation rental for somebody else, or it may be a loss of money to you. As you might know, home values are really high right now across the country. So it is important to check the area that you plan to buy in, what their historical highs and lows are. Because if you're buying a property there, whether it seems like a really good price or not, you'll want to know if you're going to be able to get a gain when you go to sell that house, or hopefully you won't get a loss. You'll want to talk to area leaders like the Chamber of Commerce or the city governments, what the rate of home ownership is in an area. That is often something you can find online too. And job opportunities, how often they come available, just to get an idea of the economics in the area. Because owners are more likely to invest in their properties than landlords, it's also important to know exactly the percentage of the area that are homeowners versus renters. And as I'm sure you're aware, well-established neighborhoods are more likely to increase in value than something that isn't well maintained. So if the biggest nearby employer is about to shut its doors, this may make you think twice about buying a home in this area, or what kind of offer you'll be making, because you'll know there'll be less jobs available. Luckily, we've had lots of new businesses open up lately, so I don't think that would be an issue when you're coming here. If you're not sure where to find those numbers, especially reliable ones, talk to a local real estate professional so they can help you make a decision about the area. I have plenty of videos on my channel that answer questions that we talked about today if I didn't answer them in this video. So check out them, and since you're getting ready to move, check out this video, Moving with Pets. Thanks for watching and have a blessed day.